Hey, we're going to talk a little baseball, get our minds off some things. We got away from it for a bit, but now we're back and we're going to have some fun for the next few minutes. And starting off our lineup from the Pittsburgh Pirates, he's one of the voices of the Pirates. He's been at it for a while. We say hello to Greg Brown. Greg, how are you, sir?
Mike, I'm doing way better to see my cohorts on the screen here, the Hollywood Squares. This is a lot of fun.
You know what? That's better
I'm going to go with Bobby Nightengale to block, by the way, right off the bat. I'm not waiting.
Bobby Nightengale Jr. of the Cincinnati Enquirer is with us. Bobby, welcome aboard, sir. And you're still in Cincinnati.
I am just happy to be talking baseball again.
Well, we'll do that. And speaking of baseball, let's go to Milwaukee. And standing by is Jeff Levering of the Milwaukee Brewers. He has a whole lot of fun working with Bob Uecker and calling those Brewer games. Jeff, you're in Milwaukee, I presume.
Yes, and it snowed a little bit the last couple of days and a little flurry today, too. So we're hoping that we can play some baseball underneath a roof here pretty soon.
I'm willing to play baseball virtually anywhere at this point. Yeah. Speaking of baseball anywhere, he's not in Chicago, but he's with the Chicago Cubs. It's always good to talk to my buddy Ron Coomer. Ronnie, how are you, sir?
Mikey, I'm doing great. I'm hanging out here in Florida and just I couldn't express that any better. I'm ready to play baseball, brother.
Yeah.
Last but not least, my broadcast partner with the St. Louis Cardinals, he is John Rooney. And, you know, John, you and I have been talking, man, but we haven't been under the same roof. It seems like an eternity since the last time we were in the same room together. But now we're here together, and this is as close as we're going to get, I guess, for a while.
Well, for a while, Claibs, but I'm like everybody else. I'm ready for some baseball, and I know a lot of fans are ready for it, whether they can actually go to the ballpark in person or either listen or watch the game. So let's go.
All right, let's go.
The biggest problem for me is as the game gets so I always felt like as a hitter, you played by one rules early in the game and through the first five. And then in the last two innings or so, when the game's on the line and the game gets really intense, is the umpire going to worry about how long the batter's going to be in or out of the box? Or is the game, the intensity of the game? So that's where I had a hard time with it as a player, and I still do because I agree that would speed up the game. How about just calling strikes?
Well, that's true, but Ron, Ron, the other thing too that slowed this game down is the use of the bullpen. It is not necessarily the starting pitcher that slows the game down.
Yep.
It's the reliever that that has to work from the stretch, even if nobody's on base. Watch the pace of play. It could be the fourth inning. If the starter gets knocked out and the manager brings in a reliever, the game slows to a halt. It's the relief pitching that slows it down. It doesn't matter if it's the eighth or ninth inning in a close game. It's the reliever.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys just don't get it and go like they used to. Guys would come in and, all right, let's go. This is what I got. And some of it, and it's been explained to me a couple of different times, because these guys are throwing 95, 100 miles an hour every single pitch. So they need that quote unquote time to rest so that their body is at its max when you're delivering that set pitch. Dude, just go get it and go. Get it and go.
Jeff,
there's so much pitch
we could
not to contact too.
Yeah. Like I say, we could, each of us could name 4 or 5 guys that we dread. we're doing the game. We're going, here we go. Yeah. And we just know it. But as far as the relief pitchers are concerned, you could name 2 or 3 guys that are quick out of the bullpen. They're all slow, the relievers. Yeah. They all feel like they're the most important guy in the field, even if it's the 5th inning. Again, work from the stretch, long pause. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, not everybody has to be Brent Suter.
Oh, and get the old Ray Miller shirts out, Greg.
Yes, that's right.
Throw strikes.
No doubt.
What else? You know, when this thing starts again, and it will start, there are going to be a lot of things that we're going to look at, that we're going to pay more attention to. So I'll run this out to you guys. What do you think is going to change the most? Is it going to be access to players, fan access, the bigger rosters for a bit? They're talking about playing more double headers. And certainly, as we've just touched on, the pace of play. What do you think is going to be a given that we know is going to change when we start playing baseball again?
Yes to all of the above. I'm with you on that, Claibs. There are going to be so many things that will be in place, and we'll have to kind of feel our way through them. You know, and how about games without fans? Given that a lot of thought, too. And talking to Vince Scully right after he retired, he said the thing he missed the most It wasn't the game itself, the game of baseball. It was the people who he worked with and people he interacted with every day. But it was also the roar of the crowd. And that is so much a part of any sport and the excitement that I just kind of wonder how that's going to play.
Bobby, go to a rock concert of your favorite band and go at 4:00 and listen to the sound check, and then show up at 8 and listen to it with them with 20, 30, 40,000 people in the stands. That's what our game's going to be. I can't imagine our two teams playing any of our groups, right? I mean, we got great rivalries now in our division, and you go to your opposing ballpark late in the year with the playoffs on the line and nobody being there. That will be really, really odd to me, no matter what ballpark we're all going to playing each other.
Well, I know there was one discussion about one team in Major League Baseball that's already got one step ahead of us because nobody comes to see them play anyway. Not in our division. Not in our division. Yeah, not in our division. But
I will say this, Mike. One thing, and guys, one thing I'll say. You know, you asked earlier about how we're keeping busy, and I've actually done a lot of different talk shows, and some buddies and I actually do Zoom meetings twice a week. At the cocktail hour, and that's a lot of fun. We talk a lot of baseball, but we have discussed this as you guys have. And the one thing I will say is I just don't know that anybody knows, including Dr. Fauci, including President Trump, what we're going to be looking like in a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. So everybody assumes, and maybe it's true, maybe we'll resume baseball in a month or so, and there will be no one in the stands. But we just don't know if in a month or 2 months, something dramatic happens where maybe we're back to normal. This has never happened before. It is a novel virus. It's never happened. And every day you're seeing the facts change, things change, numbers change. What was said 2 months ago, exact opposite of what is being said today. So I'm holding out hope that maybe, and maybe it's not realistic, but holding out hope that when we do resume, it's not too much different than it was in the past.
Bobby, how is it going to?
Hey, Claibs, the other day I heard a guy say he's had his hands in so much soap and in so much, being sanitary and cleaning that when he goes to the bathroom now, he feels like he can clean the toilet. That's what it's become, and it is. It's all new, and I don't know how much more Game Show Network I can watch. But if I want to get my mind off of stuff, that's where I've been going.
You know, if there's one silver lining to this whole ordeal is we're getting some great humor, some great jokes from people. I had someone tell me the other day.
Say, can you share some of those on?
Yeah. Well, just a few of them. He said he washed his hands so much that he can see a stamp that he had from a club he was in 3 years ago. It's finally come light. So you're seeing all the good humor come out. Bobby, for you, how's it going to be for you trying to cover a team? John touched on the fact that, and I did too, as far as access is concerned. So from a writer's standpoint, which is a little different from what the broadcasters will be doing, how's that going to change for you?
It's a good question. I was talking to some people last week and this week. I don't think there's any guarantee that you're going to see writers at games. I mean, if it's not safe enough for fans to be in attendance and you're talking about players having to be spread out in the dugout, I don't think there's any guarantee that there'll be a press box. I mean, they might tell writers you have to watch on TV and, interview guys through Zoom or something, something like this after games. You remember right before they shut everything down, they closed the clubhouse. And I just can't see them reopening it until we're in a completely different type of space than we are right now.
Yeah, press credentials could become a much different thing to get than they have been in years past. You might see 3 or 4 for different beat writers, and then there just might be a general story out there, and that's what we got.
Here's my question. So when we do our pregame interviews, we're right next to players, we're right next to managers. That goes by the wayside. We're not going to have that access anymore. We're going to have to be 6 feet away and have some big selfie stick and do it if that's what we're going to do, right? Here's the other thing. So with the Brewers organization, who's my partner? Bob Uecker. who's going to tell him that he's not allowed in the clubhouse?
Well, when you find that guy, make sure he can tell Shannon too. All right.
Yeah, kidding, right? Who is going to tell them that they're not allowed to go in the clubhouse?
Hey, Jeff, let me ask you this. What are you going to do at Wrigley Field in Chicago in that radio booth? Because you got to be 6 feet apart from your partner.
No,
Ronnie,
you're already in his lap. Yeah.
No kidding, man. There's no doubt. That might be just a solo trip.
The booths have been made bigger at Wrigley.
Oh, okay.
Deeper, not wider. Sorry.
Deep.
Oh, doesn't do us any good.
Of course, right?
The engineer's fine, but we're not good.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The engineer is safe. The rest of us
honestly, that might be a trip for everybody in our division if we're playing in our home ballparks. That's just a solo trip. If you can't guarantee that, if you need the social distance, you can't physically do it.
It's going to be interesting for sure. All right, I want to move on to something else. They're going to try and play 162 games. That's going to be a stretch. So what do you think is a more realistic number that would be an acceptable regular season?
Oh. Well, I want to jump on that one.
Hey, I'm glad this is in the game show because somebody would have lost.
I could.
Go ahead.
To it. Whoever.
Go ahead.
My feeling is this season is so unique that doesn't matter. If we do something like add some teams to the playoffs and get everybody more involved, okay, great. But at this point, with all that we've gone through and how long this is going to continue to go, is it more important for us to get baseball on the air and get baseball on the fields and for our country, for people just to enjoy, and for us to get back to work as players, broadcasters, writers? Is that more important than it is to say, well, it's not a real season? What's a real season this year? I just, as a player, I would feel like, you know what, we're back playing. We've got, yes, we want to win and we want to play in the playoffs and we want to win a World Series. But, you know, right now there's a lot more, as Greg was saying, there's a lot more to this than just what, you know, we want to speed up the game and that. I think there's a social thing for everybody out there right now to get us back on the field and playing if it's safe. That's important.
Well, and you know, Ron and guys, this is not the first time it's happened. In '95, the season started late. Opening day was April 25th. It was a 144-game schedule. In 1981, because of that strike that hit in June, they lost something like 713 games. 38% of the schedule was gone. The Pirates and Cardinals played the fewest games that year, 102. The Giants played the most, 111 in 1981. I mean, everything was thrown into a tizzy that year. And, you know, as history moves on, as we look back, nobody really talks about that was a messed up year, the 1981 season, the split seasons.
Well, Whitey
so
talks
I think
about
they'll find yeah, I'm sure he does. Yeah. So did the Expos. Well, talked about a lot. Yeah, I was going to say the Expos talked a lot about it too. But so I think all bets are off. I think anything goes, and it sounds, according to the commissioner, no idea is a bad idea, and that's why we've already heard things tossed around, like playing all the games in Arizona, realigning. The Pirates would play in the division with the Yankees, the Blue Jays, and the Phillies, and the Orioles, and stay down in Florida. I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
I think if you got to 100 games, that'd be awesome. I think that's the sweet spot right now. If you can get to 100, great. But look at the minor leagues. You got two leagues, the New York Penn League and the Northwest League, that plays 76 games a year. And their championships aren't tainted. I mean, they play 2.5 months, and that's great. That's great. There's nothing. They have the blueprint. If that's what you want to do, they have the blueprint already.
All right. Go ahead, Bobby.
I was going to say, I agree with Ron when he mentioned, you know, I think the playoff format's going to change. I could definitely see them making it more like a tournament or at least adding more wild card teams, which, you know, kind of dampens the regular season at least a little bit. If you have a more exciting postseason, you can get your TV money back that way too.
All right. Aside from your own well-being, when we get back to work, what other concerns might you have about what we're about to undertake? And certainly, what do you expect? Or I guess we all have come to the conclusion fans probably won't be involved, certainly in the early portion of the restart. But what concerns do you have as an individual right now? We'll go around the horn. I'll start with you, Jeff, and we'll work our way around.
I think the biggest part, if it's deemed that everything goes back to quote unquote normal, whatever normal is, and say you're at your home ballparks, how are you going to get into the ballpark? How are you feeling about the cleanliness of the ballpark? Everything is going to be triple stamped and quadruple stamped to make sure that it's okay. But then when you get on the team plane and you're in seats, you might have to have your own row in that circumstance. If there's social distancing and whatnot continuing on, and people are talking about that for the next 2 years. So I think the travel portion of it is the biggest question mark for me. And even Greg mentioned it, going down to Chicago and being in that booth, and it's tight corners. It's that way in Arizona. It's that way sometimes in St. Louis. I mean, whatever ballpark you go to, they're tight. So if those are the rules that we're playing by, how are you able to keep your distance from other people that are essential to your business? And that's a big question mark moving forward.
Ronnie, what about you? I've got an idea. If we go to Chicago, why don't we just go to your bar and sit there and do the game from there?
It's a great idea.
Tomorrow.
We can roll dice there to see who hits. We can do all kinds of things there. I think.
Okay.
Is that legal? Sure it is. Yeah.
Yes. No idea is a bad idea.
That's right.
That's right. To me, the travel thing is it's a scary thing. I have to agree. Getting on a plane is something that, do you want your star players all getting on planes? And with the chance of getting this thing, I mean, those are concerns for all of us, but, and then just the way that, to me, in looking at getting in and out of the ballpark and what do you do? I was thinking about this Arizona thing. So the difference for me is going to be, do we just walk into our stadium, go right to our booth, fill out our lineup card, and broadcast the game? I mean, people thought we did that for years anyway, instead of getting there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 or 4. Now we're actually going to do it, which is kind of odd. There's health concerns. To me, you can't play until you know you can be safe.
Yeah.
As much as I want to go there, I'd go there tomorrow. But you can't do that to all of these people until you know you can be safe.
Greg?
I'm going to repeat what I said before. And because I feel strongly that we just don't know, I'm not concerned. I'm really not. I just feel like we'll play when everyone says they're ready. Baseball's not going to take any chances. So I understand the concern about travel, but they're not going to put their star players on a plane unless they're absolutely certain they're safe. So I know I'll be safe as well. So honest to gosh, I'm not the least bit concerned about it. I'm just not. I know that we'll get back to life as we knew it when they say it's right. And it sounds like it might be starting pretty soon. Again, the numbers look way better now than they did 2 weeks ago. There was an apocalypse going to happen here in this country and around the world. And that's not happened. So I'm not as concerned as a lot of people might be.
And Claims, I remember going to Toronto back during Stars years ago, and we lost Ed Farmer over the last couple of weeks. He was my partner with the White Sox at the time. And Ed, because of his kidney transplant, couldn't go to Toronto, didn't want to take that risk. But as it turned out, I thought everybody did a good job of looking after themselves and taking good care of themselves, that it didn't affect anybody on the ball club when that was a real problem in Canada. And when this thing opens up, that virus is still going to be out there. And there have to be some ways to treat that, and everybody keep washing the hands. I mean, the line's going to be long on the airplane to get back there to wash your hands as much as we need to. But that is going to be one of the changes. But it's everybody looking after themselves and taking care of themselves, and who knows, with some of the things we've been doing, it might cut down on the actual flu virus in the future.
Bobby?
I don't know if it's not a personal concern of mine, but I do wonder what happens if a player tests positive, right when they're trying to ramp up the season. They had that in Japan where they were trying to, they got pretty close to getting towards their opening day, and then 3 guys from the same team all tested positive, and then they just shut everything down. That's kind of just, whether it's MLB or any other sport that tries to get going here in the next few months, all it takes is one person to test positive, and you kind of have to shut down, kind of what you saw with the NBA. All it took was one player who tested positive, and everything shut down afterwards.
Yeah, the only thing about that is interesting at Jeff's point that if they started, I mean, just we're throwing stuff out here and we're just fans. Nobody's an expert here, but as you're saying, Bobby, if the one thing baseball has the advantage of before football anyway, the fact that it's an outside game. But if you started with 50 guys and someone did come down with the virus, then he's gone. He's quarantined for 2 weeks. And then you keep, for me, that would make the most sense, but we'll see.
All right. Before we get out of here, final question for you guys. Well, you can have your final thought as well. When we get back to work, other than the fans, who's the one person that made you smile and made you laugh that you're looking forward to seeing again when you get back?
Wow. Jeff, I feel like just a cop-out is everybody. What I miss most is to the point about what I guess it was Uke was saying, or Vin Scully, John, that it really is the fans, it's the people around the ballpark. It's your broadcast partners. It's our radio engineers. It's our producers, our cameramen and women. That's what I miss the most. That's what and your baseball family. You miss them, and there's a big void right now for me.
Well, it was like Euchre when I asked him about Jeff, when Jeff first went to work with him, and Uke said, "Yeah, I asked Jeff. I said, where have you been all my life?" And Jeff told him most of it I wasn't born. True. I'm gonna miss that. That's what I miss. The everyday give and take, and Claibs can attest to this as much as anybody. Claibs sits to my left, Mike is to my right, and our booth is is about as wide as the ballpark.
We have our own social distancing there.
Well, I'll say,
we're all set at home.
But
we laugh every day, win or lose. We have a great time, and I've missed that as much as anything, and I look forward to that when we return.
Bob, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, just echoing what John said. I mean, you just miss everyone. You miss the give and take. You miss just everything about the sport, especially in the press box. I mean, there's so much that goes on. We're all there from 2:00 to 11 o'clock or midnight. I mean, you spend your whole day there. So just getting some of that normalcy back, being able to joke. I mean, that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most.
Jeff?
I mean, if I don't say Bob Uecker, I'm going to get in trouble, right?
He won't know. We would never tell him.
Nah, it's between us Indians, man.
What are the chances? What are the chances he's on Zoom right now, right? So
is it Uecker or is it Harry Doyle?
Both, I think it's definitely he's taken on a personality of himself. So it's I miss Uke, of course. I miss being around the ballpark. But for you guys, Lorraine. I can't wait to be back at the ballpark and just get a ration of what from Lorraine. I haven't had that for about 7 months. I miss her. She comes in, gives me a hug. She calls my son by the wrong name. I miss that stuff. Right? I mean,
that's great.
Everybody's got that person at the ballpark, and that's what I miss.
What about you, Ronnie?
For me, I think there's people at Wrigley Field that I've known a long time, right? Growing up there. You're around there. But I think for me, there's a few people, but then there's also that thing of showing up to the ballpark every day. And because I've been doing it all my adult life, not taking it for granted, right? Yeah. Just going, oh yeah, the car's leaving at 2. We're going to the ballpark, and we've been doing that for so long that now all of a sudden that's been taken away. And I'm like, damn, it'd be nice to have a vacation. We're on vacation now. Can we go to the ballpark for I think that, to me, no matter where we go, I think for me, not taking that for granted any longer, that'll be me.